Picture this. It's 1993. McLaren builds a car so advanced that even NASA wanted to study it. Meanwhile, Dodge, they threw a truck engine into a car shaped like a snake and somehow called it a supercar. The 90s were absolutely insane. Today, we're breaking down the 11 fastest cars of the 90s. And trust me, this list is packed. We've got the wild design choices that almost got banned, the millionaires who wrecked them, and the secret stories about how some of these cars barely made it to production. And here's the crazy part. Car number 7 caused such a huge scandal. It nearly bankrupted the entire company. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss this one. 10. Lotus Esprit V8, 1996. Top speed, 175 miles per hour. Fun fact, the Lotus Esprit V8 weighed under 3,000 pounds. Yet it could outhandle cars with twice the horsepower. How? Lotus engineering magic. They built their iconic wedge-shaped supercar on a super light aluminum chassis, then wrapped it in composite body panels. While every other car maker was adding weight with fancy luxury features, Lotus went the opposite way. They were laser focused on one thing, saving every single gram. And the result, a lightweight rocket that could dance around cars way more powerful than it. Lotus took their old Esprit and gave it a brand new heart, a 3.5-liter twin turbo V8, making 350 horsepower. This car almost never existed. Through the 1990s, Lotus was this close to going bankrupt. The company kept getting passed around between owners. Even General Motors had a turn. Budgets were cut, projects were delayed. Engineers had to fight for every tiny improvement while working with old tools and outdated factories. The fact that the Esprit V8 ever made it to production, honestly, it was nothing short of a miracle. The Esprit V8's secret weapon is chassis. The aluminum frame made it super strong but still crazy light, and the composite body panels kept the weight even lower. Engineers obsessed over balance. They shoved the engine so far back, it was basically sitting between the rear wheels. The result? A car that could change direction instantly. Steering so sharp, it felt like the car was reading your mind. Top Gear summed it up perfectly. The thinking man's supercar. Not about brute force, it was about pure skill. For such a small car, the Esprit's 175 miles per hour top speed blew reviewers away. The twin turbos gave the V8 a brutal mid-range punch. It could rocket past 100 miles per hour faster than many rivals. And the sound? At full throttle, it went from a low growl to a metallic scream as the revs climbed higher and higher. Because you sat so low to the ground, the speed felt insane. The road was just inches under you. Every mile per hour felt magnified. Even Elon Musk struggled with the Esprit V8. He crashed his not once, but multiple times. Why? Because this car was a handful. The lightweight chassis plus those twin turbos could light up the rear tires in an instant, especially on wet roads. And here's the kicker. No traction control, no stability systems, nothing to save you. The Lotus gave drivers full control and full responsibility. Musk's crashes prove one thing. The Esprit wasn't the fastest car of the 90s, but it might have been the most demanding and the most rewarding to drive at the limit. Today, the twin-turbo V8 Esprits are collector gold. They're the purest example of Colin Chapman's add lightness philosophy turned into a turbocharged supercar. Later models got more power, but none captured the magic of this underdog British car. Despite Lotus's financial chaos, it kept pace with giants like Ferrari and Lamborghini. The V8 Esprit proved one thing. You don't need massive budgets or fancy tech, just brilliant engineering and total focus. If the Esprit was James Bond's tuxedo, this next machine was pure comic book chaos. All venom, no subtlety. 9. Dodge Viper GTS 1996. Top speed, 185 miles per hour. The Dodge Viper GTS was basically a street legal race car with air conditioning. Dodge grabbed their massive truck V10 engine, the same engine meant for hauling heavy loads, and shoved it into a lightweight sports car chassis. The result? One of the most raw, aggressive American cars ever built. Unlike fancy European supercars that focused on comfort and polish, the Viper was all about brutal, unfiltered performance. Motor Trend even called it America's answer to the Ferrari, but don't be fooled, it handled nothing like an Italian supercar. The Viper demanded respect. You wanted to go fast, you better know what you're doing, or you'd be hugging a tree instead of the asphalt. Getting to 60 miles per hour took just 4.0 seconds, but the real party started above 100 miles per hour. The V10's torque hit like a sledgehammer at any RPM. And with no electronic babysitters, it would happily spin the rear tires in third gear if you weren't careful. The chassis was stiff and sharp, but the short wheelbase made it twitchy at the limit. One wrong move and you could end up facing backwards down the highway. At 185 miles per hour, the Viper GTS was one of the fastest cars you could buy in 1996. The long gears in the Tremec manual meant you could, in theory, cruise at triple-digit speeds all day if you had the nerves. Above 120 miles per hour, the wind noise was deafening. And unlike modern supercars, there was almost no aerodynamic downforce to keep it planted. Pamela Anderson's bright blue Viper GTS in barbed wire became one of the most iconic movie cars of the 90s. The producers picked it because nothing else screamed American rebellion like Dodge's brutal two-seater. And real-world Viper owners quickly learned the hard way. Driving this beast demanded the same focus Pam gave her shotgun. 1 second of distraction and trouble was guaranteed. Some journalists loved the Viper's raw, no-holds-barred nature. Others thought it was too dangerous for public roads. Today, the original Viper GTS models are serious collector's items. They represent a time when performance cars didn't come with training wheels, machines that could easily outperform their drivers' skills. In today's world of electronic safety nets, the Viper GTS is one of the last truly dangerous supercars. The Viper proved brute force could be terrifying. Europe's answer? Leaner, turbocharged, rear-engined. A weapon built for those who thought the Viper wasn't lethal enough. 8. Porsche 911 GT2 993, 1995 to 1998. Top speed, 187 miles per hour. All right, buckle up. Imagine this. A Porsche so crazy powerful, the engineers were like, nope, too wild. And they had to rip out the front drive shaft just to keep it under control. This beast, the 993 GT2, not your regular 911. Oh no, this was the first turbo, rear-wheel drive 911 since the legendary 930 turbo. And guess what? Porsche built it for one reason, to dominate on the racetrack. So, what did they do? They went full savage mode, sound deadening, gone, back seats. See ya. Even the door handles, swapped for simple straps. Why? To make this car as light and fast as possible. This wasn't just a car, this was a street legal race machine. Under the hood of this monster, a 3.6-liter twin turbo flat 6 dropping 430 horsepower. And remember, this was 1995. In a car that weighed just 3,000 pounds. That's like strapping a rocket engine to a go-kart. But here's the wild part. These turbos didn't whisper in, they slammed in. Below 3,500 RPM, the car was chill, almost calm. But the second those turbos spooled up, boom, it felt like you smashed into a wall of boost. And with that short wheelbase, every little throttle twitch turned into a fight for survival. Hit boost mid-corner. The car wasn't just driving you, it was trying to kill you. This wasn't just speed, it was pure chaos on 4 wheels. Professional drivers loved the GT2 because it talked to them through every shake of the wheel and every slide of the tires. But for anyone else, it was flat out scary. The engine sat way behind the rear axle, like a sledgehammer waiting to swing. Lift off the throttle at the wrong moment and that heavy rear end would whip around faster than you could blink. Now add in those turbos, slamming on like a switch being flipped. Calm 1 second, chaos the next. That combination made the GT2 dangerous, unpredictable, and thrilling all at once. It wasn't just called the Widowmaker for drama, it earned the name. Test drivers spun them. Journalists stuffed them into ditches. Even the pros had to stay sharp because this Porsche punished mistakes instantly. This wasn't a car you simply drove. It was a car you survived. The numbers told the story. 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat and a top speed brushing 187 miles per hour. But those stats didn't tell you how violent it felt. In a car this light, that kind of speed was chaos. The GT2 wasn't built to make you comfortable. It was built to test if you were brave enough to handle it. Porsche only made around 200 road-going GT2s, and out of those, maybe 50 were the even rarer Club Sport models. Jerry Seinfeld owns one. Of course he does. The guy has one of the greatest Porsche collections in the world, and even he admits the GT2 is on another level. He said it feels nothing like today's turbo cars, no computer stepping in to save you, no electronic safety nets, just raw, brutal, mechanical feedback. Every gear change, every surge of boost, every wiggle of the chassis, you feel all of it. Maintenance was part of the GT2 story, whether you liked it or not. The twin turbos sat directly above the exhaust headers, cooking themselves in heat every time the car ran. That meant owners had to stay sharp. Ignore a boost leak, skip a vacuum line check, or slack on service. And you weren't just losing power, you were flirting with serious engine damage. The sequential twin turbo setup made things even trickier. It needed exact tuning to keep the power flowing smoothly across the rev range. Get it perfect, and the GT2 was savage but controllable. Miss the mark, and you were stuck with either endless turbo lag or an instant explosion of wheel spin the moment boost hit. Owning a GT2 wasn't just about driving it, it was about respecting it, maintaining it, and knowing the car could bite back at any time. Today, when an original 993 GT2 shows up at auction, it doesn't just sell, it explodes past 7 figures. That's how rare and legendary this car has become. Stack it against modern GT cars, and the difference is shocking. Today's machines are polished, flawless, almost too perfect. The GT2, it feels raw, primitive, even dangerous by comparison, and that's exactly why collectors worship it. This was the last fully analog turbocharged 911. No computers, no traction control, no safety net, just you, the turbos, and whatever courage you brought to the driver's seat. Germany had built a turbocharged terror for the brave. But in Italy, the answer wasn't just danger, it was theater. A machine that didn't feel like a car at all, but a Formula One engine dressed in scarlet. 7. Ferrari F50, 1995. Top speed, 202 miles per hour. Imagine this. Ferrari owners actually complained about their own car because it was too wild. Meet the Ferrari F50. Not just a supercar, but a full-on Formula One car you could drive on the street. Built to celebrate Ferrari's 50th anniversary, this beast wasn't here to play nice. They took their 1990 F1 engine, pumped it up to 4.7 liters, and slammed it into a street-legal car. What came out? Pure madness. Forget comfy leather seats and air conditioning. The F50 shoved you into a carbon fiber cockpit with a screaming V12 strapped right to your back. It wasn't just a car, it was a rocket on wheels that made other supercars look like go-karts. The drama kicked in when the super rich finally got their F50s. They thought they were getting a smooth, refined ride like the F40's cool little brother. Instead, they got a car that shook them, just sitting at a red light, had zero sound insulation, and made city driving feel like a full workout. Manual steering that could crush your arms in parking lots, suspension so stiff it felt like your teeth were rattling on every bump. And the pedals slammed straight into the floor like a real race car. No fancy adjustments here. Some owners actually called Ferrari and complained. Too extreme, too raw, too focused for the street. But honestly, that's what made the F50 legendary. That 4.7 liter V12, not just inspired by F1, it is a street legal version of Ferrari's 1990 Formula One engine from the 641. At 202 miles per hour, the F50 wasn't just fast, it was terrifying. Test drivers said the front end would lift above 190 miles per hour, meaning you had to fight the wheel every inch of the way. The thin carbon fiber panels actually flexed as you barreled down the road. 0 to 60, a lightning 3.8 seconds, top speed, only for the brave, on a very long straight with nerves of steel. Today, the F50 is considered one of the great Ferraris. Only 349 were ever made, and good ones now sell for over $3 million. Collectors finally get it. Ferrari wasn't building comfort or convenience, they were building the purest driving machine on earth. No compromises, no filters, just raw, unfiltered madness behind the wheel. And that's exactly why the F50 is so insanely special today. Even Nicolas Cage learned just how brutal the F50 could be. In 1999, during a joyride, he lost control and smashed into multiple parked cars, all while reportedly showing off for friends. The repairs cost over $150,000 and nearly a year to complete because every part had to come straight from Ferrari in Italy. The F50's legacy, complicated and legendary. It failed as a comfy grand tourer, but as a barely street-legal race car, it was a masterpiece. The screaming V12, the full carbon fiber body, the raw mechanical honesty, you just can't get that in modern supercars thanks to safety and emissions rules. Ferrari would never build something this raw today, and that's exactly why the F50 is priceless. It's the last car from a major manufacturer with zero compromises, a wild, untamed beast frozen in time. 6. Lamborghini Diablo SV 1995. Top speed, 204 miles per hour. Fun fact, the Diablo SV was so wild, Lamborghini had to dial it back before releasing it to the public. SV badge stood for Super Veloce, Italian for super fast, and Lamborghini meant every word. This wasn't just the usual special edition with a power bump and some stickers. The SV represented a complete reworking of the Diablo concept to create the ultimate driver's machine. Early Diablo SV prototypes were so extreme, even Lamborghini engineers were shocked. Test drivers came back from runs shaking their heads, saying it felt more like a race car than a street car. The development team spent months softening the edges, just enough to make it drivable, but without losing that raw, untamed SV character that makes it legendary today. The final version wasn't toned down. It kept all the upgrades that truly mattered. That massive 5.7-liter V12 now cranked out 510 horsepower in its most aggressive street tune yet. Engineers reworked the intake and exhaust so the engine could breathe like a race car, giving a power band that pulled hard all the way to redline. And with rear-wheel drive only. Every ounce of that power went straight to the pavement. No AWD safety net to save you. When those turbos hit boost in second or third gear, even seasoned drivers had to react instantly to keep it under control. This beast hit 204 miles per hour, making it the fastest Lamborghini ever at the time. But here's the catch. To reach that crazy speed, you needed a super long straight road and the guts of a superhero. No fancy computers to save you. Nope. The SV handed you the wheel, and if you messed up, it was all on you. The long body helped keep it straight, but that monster V12 engine hanging in the back, yeah, it was ready to spin you out if you lifted off the gas too fast. Test drivers said once you hit 185 miles per hour, the front of the car felt like it was floating off the ground. Imagine holding on, eyes wide, heart racing. Every second at top speed was pure adrenaline. This wasn't just another Lamborghini. This became the ultimate Diablo. Why? Because it was pure, raw, untamed power. Forget the fancy luxury stuff. Lamborghini ripped out all the extra weight, kept it bare bones, and built a machine that was all about speed over comfort. Even that big rear wing, not for looks. Nope. It smashed the air and gave the car real downforce when you pushed it fast. Buyers could option air conditioning and a stereo, but purists knew those just diluted the experience. They laughed at that. This wasn't a car for chilling at car shows. This was a car to drive like your life depends on it. And if one person summed up the Diablo SV, it was Mike Tyson. The former heavyweight champion bought a bright purple one. Yep, as loud as his personality. But here's the wild part. Tyson didn't just crash his SV once, he crashed it twice. In one story, he literally wrecked the car, walked away, and bought another one the very same day. And honestly, that made sense. The SV was a total beast. With its heavy clutch, rock-hard suspension, and explosive power, this car never let you relax. One wrong move, and boom, it bit back. Sure, today's supercars are faster, but the SV gave you something no computer can. A raw, unfiltered connection. Skill, guts, and focus were the only things keeping you on the road. The heat from that massive V12 baked the cabin. It was a constant reminder there's nothing between you and the monster engine. That's why the Diablo SV isn't just a car. It's the last true analog Lamborghini legend. But if the SV was wild, Lamborghini wasn't finished. Behind the scenes, they were crafting another machine, even more extreme, uncompromising, and so rare it would make the SV look civilized. 5. Lamborghini Diablo GT, 1999. Top speed, 210 miles per hour. The Diablo GT was so rare, even Lamborghini dealers never saw one in real life. That's how crazy exclusive it was. This wasn't just a special edition. This was the final farewell to the Diablo before the Murcielago replaced it, and Lamborghini only built 80 cars, meaning you could visit a dozen dealerships and still never spot one. Each car came with a numbered plaque inside, and once they were gone, that was it. No second production run, no do-overs. The Diablo GT wasn't just an upgrade, it was Lamborghini cranked to 11. Engineers bored out the V12 to 6 liters and stuffed it with race car parts. The result, 575 horsepower, no turbos, no superchargers, just raw, naturally aspirated fury. They ditched the all-wheel drive system to save weight, making this a rear drive only beast. And the sound, oh man, as it screamed past 7,000 RPM, it turned into something unreal. Car and Driver said it was like a Formula One engine mixed with a chainsaw. Imagine hearing that behind your head at full throttle. Absolute goosebumps. Hitting 210 miles per hour took way more than just raw horsepower. Lamborghini went full mad scientist on the GT's body. They reshaped the body with carbon fiber panels to shave weight, then added a giant rear wing and a sharp front splitter. These weren't just for show. Wind tunnel tests proved they actually kept the car glued to the road at insane speeds. And the brakes, massive discs with racing pads, built to survive full throttle runs to 210 miles per hour and still stop hard again and again without fading. Maintenance became part of the ownership experience. That racing spec V12, it needed way more attention than a normal Diablo engine. Skip a service, and the bull would bite back hard. Crash it. Good luck. Those carbon fiber body panels were insanely expensive and almost impossible to replace. Why? Because every single piece was custom made for just those 80 cars. Finding replacement parts today is nearly impossible since most were custom made for just these 80 cars. And here's the craziest part. Rumor says Lamborghini actually destroyed the molds after the last GT was built. No spares, no do-overs. If you break it, that's it. All to preserve exclusivity. Even royalty couldn't resist the Diablo GT. The Sultan of Brunei added not one, but several to his legendary car collection. His mechanics kept them polished like jewels, but rarely drove them. That's why, even decades later, a few GTS still pop up with basically 0 miles on the clock. Most GTS ended up locked away in private collections, treated more like artwork than actual cars. And when one finally escapes into the wild at an auction, you better bring a fat wallet. Prices blast straight past 7 figures without breaking a sweat. What made the Diablo GT truly special wasn't just how fast it was how it got there. This car was built before computers could babysit you, before electronic aids could hide a so-so chassis. Every single part existed to make it faster and more thrilling to drive. The carbon fiber body wasn't just for show. It saved weight exactly where it mattered. That massive rear wing, real downforce, not just a decoration. Even the stripped out interior wasn't about looking race inspired. It was all purpose, all performance. If the Diablo GT was a purebred predator of the road, Germany was cooking up something even stranger. A car born not from tradition, but from the racetrack. Just a handful would make it to the streets, and every one of them carried the soul of a championship-winning GT1 fighter. 4. Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR Straßenversion. Top speed, 214 miles per hour. Picture this, a Mercedes so extreme, they built it just to qualify for racing. The CLK GTR Straßenversion wasn't designed to be a comfortable Grand Tourer. It was a Le Mans racer with license plates. Mercedes created it solely to meet FIA GT championship rules, which demanded at least one road-legal version of the race car. What rolled out of the factory? A street-legal prototype stripped of anything that didn't scream speed or practicality. Development of the CLK GTR Strassen version happened at breakneck speed. Mercedes engineers had just months to turn their all-conquering race car into something you could technically drive on public roads. They kept the carbon fiber monocoque chassis straight from the racer, but added rudimentary air conditioning and a slightly softer suspension, just enough to survive city streets. The interior? Basic carpeting, a stripped-down dashboard, still very much a race car cockpit. There was no sound deadening, no luxury features, just the bare essentials to make it legal. At the heart of this beast roared a 6.9-liter V12, cranking out 612 horsepower. This wasn't a refined, luxury Mercedes engine. It was a race-derived monster. At idle, it vibrated like it had a pulse of its own, and at high RPM, it screamed like a banshee. Shifting through the 6-speed manual was no joke either. That heavy clutch would torment your left leg in traffic, a brutal reminder that this car wasn't built for comfort. Mercedes claimed it could hit 214 miles per hour, though few owners ever dared to test that figure. At those speeds, the massive rear wing generated real downforce, and the unassisted steering demanded constant focus, keeping the driver fully locked into every inch of the road. Only 28 CLK GTR Strassen versions were ever built, making it one of the rarest Mercedes models in history. Most went to Middle Eastern royalty, who valued exclusivity over drivability. These weren't Sunday cruisers. They were garage queens, occasionally paraded at high-end car shows. And the price? A jaw-dropping $1.5 million in 1998. A toy for only the wealthiest collectors. What made the CLK GTR special wasn't just the performance. It was how it achieved that performance. Unlike modern hypercars packed with electronic aids, this was a raw mechanical experience. The throttle, a direct cable, no drive-by-wire here. The brakes, they required serious leg pressure, no power assist at all. Even the pedals were mounted in racing position, making heel-toe downshifts awkward, unless you were wearing actual racing shoes. This wasn't just a fast car. It was a machine that demanded skill, strength, and total focus from the driver. A true analog monster in a digital age. The CLK GTR Strassen version isn't just a car, it's a legend. One of the most extreme road cars ever built. It represents a time when manufacturers would create barely street-legal machines, just to qualify for racing. Thanks to modern safety and emissions rules, we'll never see anything like it again. A true race car, you could theoretically drive to the grocery store. That mix of insane performance and crazy exclusivity has cemented its place as one of the most coveted collector cars of the 90s. And today, pristine examples are now fetching over $5 million. 3. Bugatti EB110 SS 1992. Top speed, 216 miles per hour. What if I told you the Bugatti EB110 SS was so advanced, it straight up embarrassed Ferrari? This wasn't just Bugatti's comeback, it was a full-blown middle finger to the entire supercar world. After decades of silence, Bugatti roared back in 1992 with a machine that made everything else look ancient. The EB110 SS was loaded with tech years ahead of its time. Tech that wouldn't go mainstream for another decade. All wrapped in a carbon fiber body with scissor doors that looked like they'd leapt straight out of a concept car. The numbers alone should have guaranteed legend status. That quad-turbo 3.5-liter V12 cranked out a jaw-dropping 603 horsepower. Insane. For 1992. With 4 turbos, there was virtually no lag. Boost built smoothly. From idle to redline. The all-wheel drive system dumped all that power to the ground, rocketing the EB110 SS to 60 in just 3.2 seconds. Top Gear wasn't kidding when they called it the most technologically advanced car of its time. And at 216 miles per hour, this wasn't just fast. It redefined what fast even meant. But the EB110 story took a dark turn almost immediately. Just months after its launch, Bugatti's financial troubles came crashing down. The company burned through an insane amount of cash building this engineering masterpiece, and by 1995, they were bankrupt. Dealers were suddenly stuck with million-dollar paperweights as warranty support vanished overnight. And the timing? Absolutely brutal. The EB110 hit the market right before a global recession, one that crushed the supercar scene. The carbon fiber monocoque chassis weighed barely 1,200 pounds, yet it was stiffer than anything Ferrari or Lamborghini had at the time. The suspension? Pure race tech. Pushrod actuation with double wishbones at all four corners, and the brakes? Overkill doesn't even begin to cover it. Massive ventilated discs, 6-piston calipers, capable of hauling the car down from 200 miles per hour repeatedly without fading. Every part existed for one purpose: pure, unfiltered performance. And if you still had doubts, Michael Schumacher owned an EB110. That alone should tell you everything about the car's capabilities. The F1 legend didn't just own one. He actually drove it regularly, something most owners were too intimidated to do. Years later, when he sold it, the EB110 blew past the auction block for millions. Not just because it was a Bugatti, but because it bore Schumacher's seal of approval. The man knew real performance, and the EB110 SS delivered like almost no other car ever has. Looking back, the EB110 SS was both a triumph and a tragedy. It proved Bugatti could still build world-beating cars, even after decades in the shadows. But it also showed that brilliant engineering alone couldn't save a company from bad timing and worse finances. Today, surviving EB110 SS examples trade for 7 figures whenever they surface. These cars aren't just collectibles, they're reminders of what happens when a manufacturer throws caution to the wind and builds something truly extraordinary. The EB110 may have temporarily bankrupted Bugatti, but it also paved the way for the Veyron and eventually the Chiron. Not bad for a car that almost vanished into automotive history. 2. Jaguar XJ220, 1992. Top speed, 217 miles per hour. Fun fact, the Jaguar XJ220 was supposed to have a V12 and all-wheel drive, but it got neither. Jaguar employees originally dreamed this car up in their spare time, wanting a British supercar that could take on Ferrari and Lamborghini. The concept car turned heads with its sleek lines and promised V12 power. Then reality hit. By the time production rolled around, Jaguar had swapped the V12 for a twin-turbo V6 and ditched the all-wheel drive system entirely. Talk about a plot twist. The changes didn't exactly go over well. Customers who put down deposits expecting a V12, furious. Some even sued Jaguar, claiming they'd been misled. The lawsuits dragged on for years, leaving a stain on Jaguar's reputation in the supercar world. Car and Driver summed it up perfectly, calling the XJ220 the most beautiful disappointment in automotive history. A car that looked like a dream, but didn't quite deliver. Don't get it twisted. That twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 was no slouch. It pumped out 542 horsepower and could hit 60 miles per hour in just 3.8 seconds. This wasn't some road car engine either. It came straight from Jaguar's racing program, so it had serious performance credentials. The problem wasn't that the V6 was bad. It's that people expected a V12. The sound was different. The power delivery wasn't as smooth. And for buyers spending over $500,000, that mattered. Where the XJ220 truly shined? Top speed. This beast could hit 217 miles per hour, briefly claiming the crown as the fastest production car in the world. But reaching that number wasn't easy. It took perfect conditions and nerves of steel. The car's long, low body sliced through the air, but stability at those speeds, still sketchy. Test drivers reported the front end getting light over 200, turning every high-speed run into a full-on, white-knuckle thrill ride. Elton John's XJ220 ownership says it all. He bought one and quickly ran into reliability nightmares, electrical gremlins, overheating issues, general finickiness. This car was as temperamental as it was fast. That's the XJ220 curse. It was groundbreaking, but also flawed. The carbon fiber body and wild aerodynamics were years ahead of their time, but the execution, let's just say, it wasn't perfect. Fast forward to today, and the XJ220's reputation has done a complete 180. Collectors now see it as a boundary-pushing legend, even if it stumbled a bit along the way. With a production run of just 2 years, it's incredibly rare, and prices, they just keep climbing. What was once a disappointment is now celebrated as Britain's bold, fearless shot at supercar glory. The XJ220's legacy is complicated. It wasn't the car people expected, but it was still groundbreaking. That 217 mile per hour top speed proved Jaguar could build a world beater, even if the journey there was messy. For all its flaws, the XJ220 remains one of the most fascinating supercars of the 1990s. A car that promised the moon, delivered the stars, and left everyone wondering what might have been. We've reached the final car on our journey through 90s supercars. The XJ220 hinted at greatness, but this last machine took everything the decade had to offer and pushed it further, faster, lighter, and so perfectly engineered that it didn't just set records, it became the ultimate benchmark. 1. McLaren F1 1993. Top speed, 240 miles per hour. Here's the kicker. The McLaren F1 was so advanced, NASA actually studied its gold-lined engine bay. And no, that wasn't just for show. The gold foil reflected heat away from critical components, keeping the V12 cool under insane conditions. This was just one of countless aerospace-inspired tricks in a car that completely redefined what a production car could be. When McLaren built the F1, they weren't just chasing speed. They were chasing the ultimate driving machine. Period. The F1's design team read like a NASA dream squad. Gordon Murray, the genius behind it all, applied Formula One principles to every inch of the car. The carbon fiber monocoque chassis, a first for a production car, lighter and stiffer than anything else on the road. And that central driving seat, not just for show, it perfectly balanced the weight and gave the driver insane visibility. Even the doors were engineered to shave off every possible gram. This wasn't just a car, it was precision aerospace engineering. You could drive. Nobody thought a tiny British company could dethrone Ferrari and Lamborghini. When McLaren said they were building the world's fastest car, people laughed. Then the numbers dropped. A 6.1-liter BMW 512 with 627 horsepower, screaming all the way to 7,500 RPM. And get this, the engine weighed only 580 pounds. Thanks to insane lightweight materials, no turbos, no superchargers, just pure, instant, naturally aspirated fury. The acceleration, relentless, smooth, no lag, no surprises, just go. But hitting 240.1 miles per hour wasn't just about brute force. McLaren's engineers obsessed over aerodynamics, testing every surface in the wind tunnel. The underbody, completely flat, sucking it to the road like a race car vacuum. The rear diffuser and tiny spoiler, just enough downforce to keep it planted, but no extra drag slowing it down. Even the mirrors were shaped to slice the air clean. The result? At 240 miles per hour, this wasn't some sketchy death trap. It was rock solid. Drivers could actually hold it flat out at top speed. Rowan Atkinson, yeah, Mr. Bean, owned a McLaren F1. And let me tell you, his story proves exactly what this car was. Both a masterpiece and a nightmare. He didn't crash it once. He crashed it twice. The second time, a high-speed smash that nearly destroyed the car. Repairs took 2 years and cost over $1 million. Why? Because the carbon fiber tub had to be rebuilt from scratch, and replacement parts were nearly impossible to find. His experience showed why only 106 were ever built. This wasn't a car designed for careless driving or cheap repairs. What makes the F1 special isn't just the numbers, it's how it delivers them. The unassisted steering gives perfect feedback. The pedals are positioned for proper heel-toe downshifts. The gated shifter clicks into place with mechanical precision. No driving modes, no stability control, no filters, just pure connection between driver and machine. Even today, no other car offers the same unfiltered experience. Combined with such extreme, the F1's legacy goes far beyond speed records. It proved that a small team with the right vision could outperform the automotive giants. Every modern hypercar, it owes something to McLaren's groundbreaking work. Today, pristine examples sell for over $20 million. But the real value? It's in the experience. This was a car designed without compromise. It wasn't built to meet sales targets or please focus groups. It exists solely as the purest expression of automotive excellence. And that's why, 30 years later, nothing has truly surpassed it. The 90s gave us supercars that will never be matched, from the raw Dodge Viper to the space-age McLaren F1. These machines pushed boundaries before computers took over driving. They were built by engineers obsessed with speed, not marketing departments worried about lawsuits. The F1's gold-lined engine bay, the Diablo's Untamed V12, the XJ220's broken promises. Each one tells a story about a time when manufacturers took real risks. So, which one would you drive? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this ride through the 90s, hit like and subscribe for more automotive adventures. These cars, they deserve to be remembered.